This video chart presentation of JBII Inc. JBI is listed on the OTCQX tier of OTC markets and trades under the ticker JBII. This chart caught my eye simply because it just keeps holding this 200-day moving average. Pretty good static support set up now to reinforce that dynamic support. Bollinger Bands are really starting to get pretty snug, so I think this is a chart to put on the watch list and start to look for a larger move to possibly happen. MACD is trending back towards zero. That has a pretty nice look to it. I wouldn't call that much of a PPO ADX pinch, but right through this area, the ADX is in a pretty decent reversal position, which is kind of what happened. The price per share did pop back up a little bit. Right now, ADX pretty neutral. I think we're going to see a whole lot of neutrality going on at this point, to be honest. MFIs, all three pretty close together, right around 50. Again, looks like they're trying to break out of a little bear position and push towards bullishness, but still not giving any real definitive signs at this point. Accumulation distributions basically flattened out, but even in the short term, it is still trying to make higher lows or look for it to take this level out, continue the strong uptrend that started back in through here. Shaking money flow going right along with that same idea. Buying pressure has been primarily dominant. Still seeing uptrends in the CCI, now breaking to the upper half of the indicator. That's a nice look. Same way with the full stow, pushing through 50 and not breaking right back down through it like it did right here. So that's a pretty nice look for some momentum coming into the play. Tricks also trying to reverse course from this downtrend through here and trend back towards zero. Much like the other indicators, and to pretty much be expected, RSI's right around a neutral point, holding steady around 50, but the 7 did just make a push, broke through. Key point now for the 14 and 21 to try and make it through 50. So we're not getting a great read for any sort of bullishness from the indicators, but just as importantly, we're not seeing a whole lot of bearish signs either to show a lot of weakness in this play. As I mentioned, holding this 200-day is really what caught my eye. Even just a few brief dips below, pulled right back up by the end of the day, continued to hold it. And now there's a static support level also established right in that area of $1.80. You can see the 200 days registering $1.78. So that's a pretty strong support level. Below that, and I wouldn't feel great if it broke through that 200 and closed down below it, but it does pick up some more support right there beginning around $1.60. Not much insight below that. There's a breakout point. You're getting back down near this 95-cent level before any real strong support's going to roll back in. I'd pretty much have my eye on $1.60. Would have to hold that, or I'd become pretty leery this is going to fall apart some. Of course, that's the downside. More fun parts looking at the upside. And if this does decide to break to the north side, going to meet some resistance that 50-day, but static resistance won't really come into play until up here around $2.40. See, 238 was an old high back here in April, clearly a breakout point. It served as some resistance right in through here. But of course, that's a pretty nice upside, more than 20% from where it is right now, closing at $1.96. Beyond that, I'd look for resistance not to stiffen up real heavily until up here around $1.90 or so. I'd say that area is going to be a tough spot for it, and I call that a general area because it's going to run from $3 up into this $3.20, perhaps even $3.40. That is going to be a tough spot for it. A lot of resistance in the way through there. Some pretty strong support levels in the past. But that's a huge move, more than 50% away to go up there and challenge those spots. I always look in the near term first and look for small baby steps of this chart trying to progress back upward again. As I mentioned, those Bollinger Bands are really starting to tighten up. You can see in through here when they started to get real snug. Those bollies don't tell you which direction a chart's going to move, but they tell you to start to look for a bigger move. And in through here, of course, the break was upward. Very substantial move. And because they're starting to tighten again early, they're just now starting to tighten. But that's when you throw it on the watch list, keep it up on L2s or what have you, to see if it's going to pick a direction and try and push a little bit harder. It's a pretty low volume play. 59,000 shares traded yesterday. On an average day, that's about normal for it. Of course, it can put together some much stronger days, and that's what you'll want to see on any sort of breakout, which will probably happen anyway. It's not just going to break out on low volume. It's probably going to take on a surge, and that's whether it breaks up or breaks down. But a pretty interesting chart. Good technical play with holding the 200-day moving average. Good support level established. Indicators trying to make their rotation into a bullish position. And for these reasons, I'm going to throw it on the watch list and see where it goes from here. But as always, this is merely my interpretation of the JBII chart. Thank you for watching and trade smart.